Hello there, everyone. This is Quiversee, and welcome back to the Pokemon Platinum Nuzlocke. Last time, Cyrus beat us in the Distortion world, which means gotta start over again. But this time I decided to do something a little different. There's a little program out there called the, I believe it's the Ultimate Pokemon Randomizer. I didn't actually randomize the game, but that program has with it a certain setting that allows impossible evolutions, such as trade evolutions, for being doable. Needless to say, once I found out I could do that, I was like, you know what? I gotta restart anyway. Let's broaden my options. So, without further ado, there's a lot to cover. We're gonna go through this nice and quick, at least as quick as I can. Here's what happened on attempt number 4, up to Cyrus. As always, started off with our little Chimchar friend at the start. This one I called Hothead. And our first catches along the way were Doofter the Bidoof on Route 201, followed by Pompette the Starly over by Lake Verity, and then Centauri the Shinx up on Route 202, heading towards Jubilife. After that, I went north to Route 204 and caught ourselves Aramis the Budew. I actually skipped over Route 203, which we'll get over later, and went straight to the Orberg Gate where I found Thantelle the Zubat. So far, not a bad lineup. Followed that up after Orberg, I went north to 207 and caught Strunken the Machop, who I promptly decided would be replacing Doofter in the party because, yeah, last time I was interested in training a Bidoof, but not this time. Down in the Orberg Mine, we went and caught Dudette the Geodude. Geodude worked so well before, so naturally I wanted to put them on the team. This one I put in over Centauri. Sorry, Shanks. As for Rourke, Rourke was actually a pretty straightforward fight. As before, Geodude was the absolute star. Just super duper tanky, able to stand up against basically everything that he had. I did consider sending in Aramis against the Cranidos, but I figured, no, just stick with what worked before. It'll work this time. So, Cranidos went down, and then I brought in Aramis for the Onix. Rourke went down easy. After that, it was, of course, time to head towards Philoroma Town, which means Ravaged Path, which meant Aceta the Psyduck was caught. Didn't manage to save it this time. Unfortunately, on the way there, I got myself into a bit of trouble with this Kricketot. I thought that Hothead's Ember could kill it, but it couldn't, and Bide was about to unleash, so ultimately I decided I had to send in a sacrifice, and that sacrifice was Strunken the Machop. On the plus side, not long after, I went to the Valley Windworks and found myself another little berry. Yep, caught Pachirisu, and he immediately took Strunken's slot in the party. Speaking of the Valley Windworks, after that it came time to take on Commander Mars in said Windworks. And just like before, I decided to roll out with the dude. While she was able to easily take down the Zubat, she did get poisoned, as you can see, so I decided to send in Barry to tank a hit from the Purugly in order to heal her up. Luckily, Barry was pretty tough and able to take a single fake out from the Purugly. After that, Dudette came in and just rolled over everything else. Yeah, a little bit of scary at that one part, but otherwise Mars was no problem. Heading off towards the Eterna Forest, found myself another Shellos, which naturally became the new Meep. And of course, I had to put them in the party. I ultimately decided, for the time being, to bench Pompette, since I already had a bat. And also on the way there, Hothead evolved into Monferno, which was pretty nice. As for the forest itself, well, I ended up getting my hands on Bun Bun the Baneri. And there wasn't really much else to happen until Gardenia. Of course, this time, I had a very well-trained Fire Monkey, who, as you can see, was able to absolutely curb stomp everything. This was even easier than with Aria. Heading east towards Route 211, I went and caught Jin the Metatite, and while I didn't have much intention to use them, well, I got into a battle with a random Chingling with Barry, and I kind of underestimated how hard it was gonna hit, and I, once again, lost a squirrel. So, with that, Jin took Barry's place. He wouldn't be there for long, however, because as soon as I stepped to Mount Coronet, what did I find but a nose pass? Caught her, named her Schnoz, and she immediately took Jin's place. I didn't know it at the time, but Schnoz was going to be one of my best Pokemon going forward. And the reason for that is because I could evolve her straight away in Mount Coronet into the mighty iron wall that is Probopass. After that, it came time to fight Jupiter in Eterna, and yeah, I forgot the Zubat had Giga Drain and immediately lost Dewdat. Deja vu, huh? Luckily for me, I had Schnoz, the steel, rock, iron juggernaut that she is. And even with a 6-level gap, this Skuntank was not able to do much. Granted, I had to throw a lot of healing items on Schnoz because of that gap, but ultimately, Schnoz had no real issue. It just took a bit of time whittling it down, but that's the way of the Schnoz. So, yeah, bit of a long fight, but ultimately, nothing too bad aside from Dewdat's death. After clearing that out, I found Dewdat's replacement in the form of Cynthia's Togepi egg, and then went down to Cycling Road. Down on Route 206 beneath it, I went and caught Delilah the Cricketune. And not long after that is, of course, when the egg hatched into Sunny the Togepi. Next, went into the Wayward Cave where I found myself Onyxia the Onyx. Didn't really intend to use it at the time because of Schnoz, but we'll get there. Next up came, of course, the old Chateau where I caught Spook the Ghastly. And given that trait evolutions are now a thing, I wanted this on the team. As for who was going to be taking that spot, well, look, Togekiss is great and all, but I would rather have the Spook than the Sunny, at least for now. After that, continued towards Hearthome along the path which Fantel became Golbat. And then we caught Sympath the Ralts right outside of Hearthome. After that, did a little bit of training and then went on to face Fantina. Fantel was my first choice to take out her Duskull, but unfortunately, she got burned, so I had to send in Schnoz while I did a little bit of damage control. After patching up Fantel, I tried to do some more damage with Schnoz, but ultimately decided it wasn't worth it and went with Fantel. Immediately after that, Fantina decided to roll out Mismagius, and I decided, no, I'm just gonna use Schnoz and heal through what I need to. Mismagius has a lot of crazy moves, at least it can, and I didn't want to take any chances. I did take advantage of the Taunt TM earlier and taught it to Schnoz some time ago, specifically for fights like this to avoid getting hit with Confuse Ray. So combined with that, some healing, and a whole lot of rock throws, Mismagius eventually went down. And then Haunter came out and immediately got beaten by Fantel. Next, along the path to Salacion Town, I spent about 20 minutes to catch myself Cadbury the Chansey. That one was annoying to get. And then, the trainers gave me a double evolution, starting with Spook into Haunter, followed very closely by Aramis into Roselia. In the Salacion Ruins, I caught myself another letter D unknown. Yeah, somehow I got the same letter for my first encounter. Kinda spooky. And then along Route 210, got another Ponyta. Caught Uniscorch and put her in the box for now. However, before I went all the way to Veilstone, I remembered I never got the Eevee from Hearthome, so I accepted Eevee and named it Lumen. After that, continuing the path to Veilstone, Fantel evolved into Crobat, and on Route 215, I caught Disorder the Meryl. Those things still stress me out when I look at them, man. Anyways, unfortunately, around this time, I also realized Fantel had a modest nature, which is, not exactly great for them. So I started taking a look at my options to try and get myself a new physical attacker. After mulling over all of my options and taking a look at all of my current team, realizing I really had a special attack focus, I ultimately decided to bench Fantel in favor of Pompette to raise her up as my new flyer. Didn't take long, of course, to evolve Pompette into Staravia. So things were looking pretty good until I went to Maylene's gym. And one of the karate quads, well, got a very good swagger off on Pompette, followed with revenge, and she promptly died. Wasn't happy with that, but, you know, I still had Fantel, I still felt like I needed a flyer, so I just immediately put her back in. After that, I went south of Veilstone and caught myself Titan the Rhyhorn, so that was pretty nice. And then it was time to take on Maylene. As it turns out, with modest nature, Fantel's special attack is slightly higher than her physical, so I taught her Air Cutter, which was actually better against most of her Pokemon. She was able to sweep her entire team pretty easily. With Maylene down, it was time to head towards Pastoria City, and as I passed by the Valor Lakefront, I caught Reversa the Giraffarig. And on Route 212, I found a wild Buizel, which I named Miles. After that, it was time to go to Pastoria, and what do I find in the Great Marsh but a Hoot Hoot? When I went out and explored in there for items, I found so many other great Pokemon like Yanma and Tangela, but no! I got a doggone owl! Named him Nicodemus and put him in the box. After reaching Pastoria, I decided I wanted to go on and do Route 12 early, where I found Mudman, the Quag. And in Pastoria, you can get Quick Balls, which is why I went all the way back to Route 203 and caught Wiz the Abra. Remember how I said that I had a reason for avoiding encounters there? This was why. Since I was already out and about anyway, I decided to go to Route 217 west of Jubilife and caught Angel the Finneon. And it was at this point that I went back to get my Honey Tree encounter from Floroma, which was Buzz the Male Combee. I'm doomed to the Male Combees. After that, I went back down to Twinleaf Town where I caught the Goldeen Lips. All caps. And then went to the Trophy Garden where I got another Pichu. This one I named Jerry. It was around this point that I started training to get ready for Wake. And while training, Meep evolved into Gastrodon. I had the pink one this time. And I also realized I completely forgot by this point about the Porygon in Veilstone. I got him and named him Digiduck. At this point, it was time to take on Wake, and I was a little bit afraid of him this time. As you can see, Aramis went toe-to-toe with the Gyarados because I remembered he didn't have any flying-type moves. The worst that he could do was bite, and while it was dangerous, Aramis was able to take it down. After that, I defaulted over to Schnoz, who, despite being weak to water, was more than durable enough to take down Wake's Floatzel. And as far as the Quag is concerned, well, Aramis took care of that. And of course, the Pokegods decided that me getting through Wake without any deaths, that was too easy. You remember those trainer on their way to Celestic Town with the Raichu and the Gyarados? Well, they were not satisfied with being a pain last time. No, sir. I thought for sure that Schnoz and Meep would be able to handle them both together, one being an Iron Wall defense, but the other being a durable, immune to electric water wall. But unfortunately, I didn't pay attention to the fact that I was getting tail whipped and Meep died to an Aqua Tail. And as if that weren't bad enough, the very next trainer had a Scyther that I thought Hothead could handle. Hothead could not handle it. So I had 2 deaths on the way to Celestic Town. I wasn't happy about that. Needless to say, I needed to fill up some slots. So I decided to bring in Digiduck since I was able to evolve him now. And I really wasn't feeling any of the water Pokemon I had in my group because I needed someone to surf. So I decided to try and go fishing in Pastoria. Unfortunately, all I got was a Magikarp. I was really hoping I could have gotten another Remoraid or something, but it wasn't meant to be. Anyways, with that disappointment, I decided ultimately to bring in Disorder the Marill to fill in Meep's slot. Luckily, it did not take long to evolve Disorder into an Azumarill, and thanks to the upgrade acquired from the Eterna Galactic building, Digiduck was able to evolve into a Porygon too. At this point, we made it to Celestic Town, and it was time for our first battle with Cyrus. I wasn't really too worried, he wasn't that hard before, but even then, given what happened with Cyrus in the later fights, I was a bit afraid. Schnoz was able to take down the Sneasel, no problem. Thantel decided to have a little bit of a bat fight with his Golbat, and well, I tried to use Confusion to my advantage. It did not want to work. I got hit with Confusion so many times in a row, and his just kept shaking it off. That's like the only thing of note that happened, though. Schnoz came in and was able to absolutely curb stomp the Murkrow with Rock Slide. Next, I decided to use my new Surf powers to start exploring the world like I did recently before facing Cyrus, and at Fuego Ironworks, I caught Trigger the Magmar. After that, I went south of Sandgem Town and immediately found old no-name the Tentacool. And since I really wasn't happy with using Disorder, I decided just to switch him out straight away with old no-name. Azumarill's not a bad Pokemon, I just prefer Tentacruel. Anyways, once Spook hit level 37 on training, he evolved into Gengar. And then I went to that grassy area out by Pal Park where I found Iron Bark, the Sudowoodo. Yeah, I went to the grass instead of the water this time. Figured I'd see what I'd get. While I was training out there, old no-name actually did evolve into Tentacruel. Pretty good. And then, well, I ran into one of the trainers there, and look, Aramis handled a Gyarados from a gym leader. I thought he could handle this, but similar to how I lost Meep, I didn't pay attention to the fact that Leer happened before I got hit with Ice Fang, and I lost my Rose. With that, I needed a new replacement, and I ultimately decided, for the time being, to put Trigger in place of Aramis. And with that, it was off to Canalave City. I know I didn't show any of the squirrel fights before, but this one I remember really gave me some trouble the first time, and I figured it's good to show here too. As you can see, he answered my switching over to Schnoz by sending in his Empoleon, and Schnoz almost immediately gets one shot, but proves to just be way too tough. And I decided to try Trigger's hand against the Heracross, but with the level gap, it just wasn't happening, so I had to resort to Thella again. After that, it was basically just back to Schnoz. Yeah, Schnoz and Thella ended up actually being a pretty good team. I've been pleasantly surprised with Thella's performance, given that she's a special attacker. And as if that weren't enough, Trigger evolved into Magmortar from this fight. Now, despite this, I decided to bench Trigger for Onyxia the Onyx for the time being. I had a plan with this, but we'll worry about that later. Unfortunately, I went to Iron Island to do some training, and while I was having no issue with the Graveler because of Old No Name being very fast and strong, I wasn't prepared for a Quagsire's Mud Bomb, and I lost my jellyfish. With that, I had to return from Iron Island and put someone back in the party in place of Old No Name. And after mulling it over for a while, because I needed a water type, I needed something with Surf, rather than bring Disorder in, I decided to give Miles a try. Even though they're a physical attacker, maybe they'll surprise me. And with that, I evolved Miles into a Floatzel, and at the end of Iron Island, found the Metal Coat, which I used to evolve Onyxia into a Steelix. Now it was time for Byron with my newly raised Onyxia, complete with the Earthquake TM, as well as Fire Fang, which I was able to teach with a Heart Scale. Originally, I wanted to use that for most of the fight, but ultimately, I was having trouble with his Steelix's Earthquake, so I used Spook to deal with that because Spook has Levitate. As for the Bastion, well, I mentioned before, Bastion can't hurt you if you don't hurt it. So I sent in Schnoz to do the long con, and as has been established by now, Schnoz is a master of that. After this is when Team Galactic sets off the bomb, so we have to go kicking the bosses out of Lake Valor and Verity. Starting off with Saturn over at Lake Valor, as you can see, wasn't really too much of an issue, although I was a little afraid of the Toxicroak when it came out. I'm sure that Onyxia could have handled it, but I figured better safe than sorry. I need Onyxia for a plan for later. That being said, I have learned that Onyxia is one of the best counters to Bronzors. Pretty cool. As for Saturn, well, she was even easier. Mainly because there was no Toxicroak, and once again, as you can see, Onyxia is just as good at walling as Schnoz in some situations. Because even though her special defense is not that great, she resists so many types, and her physical defense is absolutely through the roof. Didn't even need to worry about her falling asleep to the Perugly, she just tanked through it all. Before I headed off to Snowpoint, I decided to go to Canalave again and catch a tentacle which I named Friend. After that, I headed off towards Snowpoint, and immediately out of Mount Coronet, I found Canifera the Snover. And I also found a trainer that also decided to give me a headache. Like an idiot, I switched out from Onyxia to Digiduck to try and train him against this Ambipom. I know that Porygon 2s can be tanky. I thought that he could handle this and did a recover in. I made poor assumptions and lost my Digiducky. But on the plus side, even though I really wanted to get my Porygon all the way up, I still had a fully evolved Magmortar waiting in the wings. Once I made that replacement, I continued on my merry way to Snowpoint, where I caught Kukri the Sneasel, and then by the Lake Acuity lakefront, I acquired another Big Pig. Next, it was time for Candace's gym, and I just want to point out, you remember that one level 44 Piloswine that one trainer had that gave me a heck of trouble before? He got 3 Ice Fangs off, and every single one of them froze. I just wanted to point that out for reasons. Thankfully, no one died from that. But as for Candace herself, well, I had Trigger to deal with the Sneasel. I had Spook to deal with the Piloswine. I had Spook again to deal with the Frostlass, which was risky because weak to Ghost, but he lived, barely, and then Trigger to absolutely melt the Abomasnow. No trouble. With Candace down, it was time to go back to Veilstone and take on the Galactic HQ. The trip there was pretty straightforward, which led us to Cyrus. This fight, I was a bit afraid of, obviously. But not only did I have Schnoz, I had Onyxia. Meaning I had a lot of good answers to most of his most dangerous things. The one thing I would have been more afraid of in most situations was that Haunch Crow and Drill Peck. But we had Schnoz, meaning Drill Peck would do nothing, meaning Cyrus resorted primarily to Nightshade. And since Nightshade is entirely predictable fixed damage, I was able to just stall him out. After that was, of course, Commander Saturn down in the basement, and yeah, I was not afraid of him at all. I had Spook. Managed to just sweep through the Golbat, sweep through the Bronzor, and ultimately I decided to bring in Fantel for the Toxicroak since it could have Sucker Punch or something. After that, I just went straight to the summit of Mount Coronet. Most of the fights there were pretty straightforward, and as you can see right here, this is the last fight before Cyrus himself, where we lost the first time. And it takes a while to get through this one, but I think you might be able to see where I'm going with this. Onyxia is my plan for that Gyarados. I originally had planned on using Schnoz for it once I had acquired her. But in order for that to work, I would have needed to teach it a new move to make it immune to ground types. Otherwise, the Earthquake would have just one-shot him entirely. But with Onyxia, I think she stands a chance. Let's find out, shall we? Okay. So, this is how the team is currently looking. Let's take a look at them in detail, shall we? We got Miles the Floatzel. Impish in nature. With 109 attack, 119 speed, and 81 special attack. Currently knows Surf, Crunch, Strength, and Aqua Jet. Kind of a weird moveset for him. I would prefer to have something there other than Strength, but obviously I need a Strength user, and Miles is not a bad choice for it, all things considered. Surf, honestly, while it's definitely not using his stronger stat, like, for crying out loud, he has over 20 more attack than special attack, the gap in power between it and Aqua Jet means it still hits harder in most situations. So it's still very good, at least for now. Next, we of course have Schnoz the Iron Wall. He is docile, level 41. And look at those defenses. Combined with those attack stats, he is actually very well rounded. And with his power of Thunder Wave to paralyze enemies, he even gets to outspeed things sometimes, which works well with Rock Slide because it can cause flinching. Rock Slide is actually a very good move for him. Ideally, I would have him know something else like Flash Cannon, which I could teach him with a TM. But right now, I don't want to change up his moveset at all. Shockwave is a good move because it never misses, and having an electric type move is good for him. Rock Smash helps him lower defenses, which is really great when his attack is not great. It's not terrible. It's not bad at all, but it's not great. And it pairs well with Rock Slide. And like I said, Thunder Wave does too. So I don't think he's ever going to change. Next is Onyxia. Onyxia is a quiet type. And if you thought Schnoz had some good defense, look at that Iron Wall. Like I said, this is my Gyarados killer. This is my plan. Primarily with this Curse. When used on a non-ghost type, Curse raises your attack and defense at the cost of speed. Does this snake look like she cares about speed at all? She is less speed than her level. So she loses nothing by doing that. If I can get Onyxia to stack curses before the Gyarados comes out, that Earthquake is going to tickle. And then we've got Thunderfang at the ready. As you probably saw in the recap, I did have Firefang on her before. I decided to switch that out for Iron Tail, primarily because I already have Trigger. Next up is, of course, Spook. He is also a docile one, immune to ground-type moves, which has been extremely helpful, and with a mountain of special attack and speed. He's a sweeper through and through, complete with Dream Eater and Hypnosis. Look at that. That thing kills. Dream Eater is so powerful. I do need to put them to sleep, and Hypnosis does have a 40% chance to miss, but Dream Eater is worth it. Combine that with Dark Pulse and Shadow Ball. In addition to having a spell tag, that Shadow Ball hits like a train. Fantel is our current weakest one, only level 39, and is unfortunately a modest nature, which is the worst nature for a Crobat. This is why I tried to replace her with Pompette, despite really liking Crobat, because you can see special attack is higher than physical attack. But despite that, she still knows physical moves only. I could teach her Sludge Bomb, over Poison Fang, but I don't really feel a need to. Her attack stat, her physical attack stat isn't that far behind her special attack. She still makes it work. And yeah, ultimately, I just didn't have a better option to give someone Defog. I had to give it to her, much to my chagrin. And the last, of course, is Trigger the Magmortar. Another docile one with good endurance. And similar to Spook, very good special attack with actually not bad physical attack and halfway decent special defense. Aside from the special attack being high, it's pretty well-rounded otherwise. And knows Flamethrower, which is amazing. Focus Blast, which has had a bad habit of missing. Confuse Ray, and Rock Climb, because again, I had to teach it to someone, and my only choices were Trigger and Onyxia. And I didn't want to get rid of any of this glorious magic. So, that's what we have going into this fight. I'm leading with Miles. Let's do this. Alright, Cyrus. I am afraid of what you have to offer. But I have prepared for this moment. Round 2. Starting off with a Houndoom, which is exactly why I'm leading with Miles. I have faith in you, Miles. Don't let me down. Surf! Good. Will-O-Wisp. Okay, I'm fine with this. I am fine with you using Will-O-Wisp on Miles. That's not going to affect Surf. Get the kill. Now, please, do what I think you're going to do. Follow it up with Weavile. That's what I want to see. Oh, you're going straight for the dose? Ugh, dang it. I was not expecting that. All right, well, let's go to the Onyxia. I didn't want to send in Onyxia because I know that Houndoom has special attacks. And that works against me. All right, let's go for the curse. Okay, you're going for the Waterfall. I guess it makes sense. Earthquake and Waterfall will hit equally as hard. And Waterfall's going to do more damage because you're Gyarados. Okay, that did about half my health. Curse was the right play. A crit will kill. But I think if I just use Curse again, if it doesn't crit, I'm okay. Let's see what happens. Yes! Curse it up, Onyxia! Now, a crit is going to kill me no matter what I do, even from full health, because it would ignore the defense ups. So I am still just going to sit here and stack curses to get my attack up as well. I want to be able to kill everything that comes out after this. That is my plan. These are the numbers I want to see. Okay. Following up with another Waterfall. As long as you don't crit. You know, I really shouldn't tempt fate. One crit and Onyxia dies. No matter what. Let's not push the envelope too much farther. Let's go with a Thunderfang now. I've got an effective +2 attack, counting for the -1 from the Intimidate. Let's see what a Thunderfang does. Oh, that's such catharsis! Onyxia! Ah, bringing in the Hodgecrow, are you? This thing's lower level than the Weavile. That's surprising. Alright, well, I already know you have Nightshade, unless you change your moves between battles, so... I'm just gonna heal up so that I don't die to Nightshade. Nightshade's probably why you came out in the first place. Heat Wave! What? I salute your sacrifice, Onyxia. How? How in the world did you survive that? Heatwave is like a POW 100 fire type special move. That is the antithesis of everything you should. You are a blessed snake. Get out of there. I don't care that you've been cursing. Schnoz. Okay. Schnoz. Thunderwave. Yeah, I'm not as scared for you. Not super effective. You've got good special defense. That was a crit. And that's all it did. Schnoz is a champ. I cannot overstate just how much I have come to rely on this giant nose of a rock throughout this entire replay. It's absurd how good Schnoz has been. Anytime I've had something go even remotely wrong, Schnoz has been there for me to fall back on ever since I caught her. Okay. Well, she's still using, or he's still using Heat Wave, so I'm just gonna go straight for a Rock Slide. It is gonna do reduced damage because of the burn, but I want to try and get a... Oh, that did nothing. Okay, that was a bad idea. Yeah, let's just heal up again. If it crits, I'll die. I don't want to take that chance. I do not want to have Schnoz go down. I forget how many power points Heatwave has. I want to say 10. That would make sense. All right, well, let's try a Shockwave. Let's see how this does. About the same. Well, then in that case, even with the burn, Rock Slide would be better because Rock Slide has the flinch chance. I will murder you. Honchcrow dies. Kill! Spook is here and out for blood. Uh-oh. Oh, thank goodness. I knew that wasn't going to be very effective. Oh. This is not good. Let's put Trigger in then. Yeah, that's what I thought. Figured you'd have a dark type move. Oh, jeez. And Drill Pet. So you don't even have Nightshade. There goes Trigger. Thought maybe you could outspeed it. I might be dead here again. Poison Fang! Please, do something good! Bad poisoning! Dead crook. Dead bat. There's no way you're surviving that. I can make this work. I can make this work. Just don't crit and the poison will kill. Just don't crit me. That's all I need. Just don't crit me. I don't know how many rounds it'll take for the poison to do its thing, but it's doing its thing. There we go. Did about an eighth. I think I need to survive 2 more attacks for the poison to get the kill. I wasn't expecting you to use a Night Slash there. We're gonna use Fly this turn. I don't want to take any chances. And with that, you can't hit me at all. And Honchkrow dies. Okay, good. Weavile. I don't really have a good answer for Weavile at this point, except for Onyxia. Onyxia, you're my biggest hope right now. Okay. First thing, freaking first. Hyper Potion. Moo Milk won't get you quite to full. I don't want to take any chances because you're neutral to ice and Weavile is kind of strong. I know you are an Iron Wall, but I'm afraid. Okay, good. That's what I want to see. Let's go ahead and start cursing. All right, that was a crit. Did about 60. Get a curse in there. And I am taking no chances. I already lost 2 very freaking good Pokemon. I'm not risking it. Get back to full. Ice Punch. Even if it crits, it's not going to kill. Didn't even crit. Curse. Yeesh. You are very crit happy, Weavile. I am displeased. All right, Moo Moo Milk. Get back to full. That's an order. This fight might take a bit. I don't care. If as long as I can walk away from it, that's all I care about. Jeez. Well, you know what? I'm okay with you critting there because now I can still survive another crit. Okay, what's your stats at right now? You've done 3, so you're at +3. I think +3 should be enough. Let's toss one more Moo Moo Milk just in case, and then go straight for the throat. I don't even know what his last Pokemon is. I don't think we ever saw it. Well, I mean... Oh, wait, no. No, if it's the same Pokemon as he had in Veilstone, it should be a Crobat. And if it's a Crobat, oh, it's gonna die. Iron Tail! You are not walking away from that Iron Tail, Weavile. You're just not. Ah, Crobat. So it was you. I admit that you've pushed me to this extreme. You want to talk about pushing people to extremes? Try recording for 26 hours over the course of like 2 days. And then cutting it down to about 20 minutes worth of something. And come back to me about extremes there, Cyrus. This cannot be! It's not possible that I lose! Yeah, I saw that coming a mile away, Cyrus. I don't care. I'm not gonna chance it with Iron Tail because it has such low accuracy. Thunderfang can miss too, but Iron Tail is like 70 accuracy. Thunderfang! Finish this! You... You're delaying the inevitable, you blasted bat! Chomp! It's over. Cyrus is down. Finally. I won't accept this! This can't be! Not after all the sacrifices we've made to get this far! What of my new world? Of my new galaxy? Was this all a dream to be swept away by your reality? Don't think that you can defeat or capture that Pokemon. This bizarre world is none other than that Pokemon itself. Capturing it or defeating it will make this world disappear. Very well. Do what you will. Rather than repairing the world, you're going to destroy it for me! Do it. You inherit my legacy. I don't think he understands anything. Don't believe his lies. It's not possible that a Pokemon can make the world disappear. The world awaited your birth. Not only yours, either. The Pokemon with you. The people close to you. All the Pokemon and people were born because they have a part in this world. I'm convinced of that. Giratina won't go out of existence. This distortion world won't disappear. Our world won't disappear either. Let's go meet Giratina. Oops, I should do something about your hardworking Pokemon first. Cynthia, I appreciate the gesture, but I don't think you can bring back the dead. Giratina is enraged because the two worlds are endangered. It has merged the distortion world and our world at the Spear Pillar. That's why both worlds are becoming distorted. But there's nothing to fear. You can defeat Giratina and show the tight bond you share with your Pokemon. Or, you can demonstrate how much you want it to join you. If you succeed in doing either, Giratina will understand. The distortion of the two worlds will stop. Just to make sure, Schnoz and Trigger are dead. I am taking away their items. I completely forgot that Trigger had the Shell Bell and Schnoz had the Magnet. Man. Honestly, if I had to lose any two Pokemon out of this list for this fight, these are the two I wanted to lose the least. Don't get me wrong, I love everybody in this team, but Miles is still kind of a bit of a backup. Fantel is nowhere near as good as Thella was. Onyxia was primarily here for that Gyarados, and while I am proud of her, she has been doing amazing. Schnoz is just more versatile in terms of defenses. And Spook. Again, don't get me wrong, I love Spook. But I do have a suitable plan B if he were to fall. Oh well. What's done is done. Let's now face the demon.